years of playing football locked up my hips to the point where my hamstrings were probably weaker than this rubber band, and my quads were so tight I strained both of them multiple times, all of which led to me not performing to my full potential and always having some kind of nagging pain in my lower body. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I don't want you to waste your potential for any longer. Addressing each area of your hip separately with measurable and most importantly scalable exercises will get you to seated good morning, abs to bench, pancake, head to floor, couch stretch, shoulders to wall, flat ground, ATG split squat, Jefferson curl, wrist below toes, pigeon push-up, chest to knee. For each of these movements, I'm going to show you the lowest entrance point along with form coaching notes and the level you can get to safely. And now that we have those clear goals in mind and you also have an idea of where you're standing at mobility-wise, we can work towards those goals, and I will show you for every exercise how you can get started from square one. Seated good morning, abs to bench. The lowest entrance point would be here with dumbbells, because you can easily just drop them if it gets too hard. And then if you have an incline bench, you can easily use that to measure your progress over time. You can start by doing it just like this, and then over time you can lower the incline, get lower and lower until you can get your abs to the bench without your low back rounding and without your knees collapsing in. This exercise is, in my opinion, a no-brainer for contact sport athletes. Let's just have a closer look here. What is the limiting factor? It's your adductors, it's your inner hamstrings that are often tight and weak. And also your ability to be able to hinge and get low. And when you think about your sport to defend, you have to be able to get low to explode out of that position. So it's really a no-brainer if you're a contact sport athlete that is defending, that needs to get low and be explosive. Also, it's going to develop your glutes massively as you are in this position. And when you pull out again, you pull with your glutes and your lower back together. Pancake, head to floor. For this one, you just start with your feet closer together, like this, and with assistance. You can really push into this position. The form keys are to have your toes pointed in slightly and keeping your quads flexed at all times. And over time, you can get further away, further apart, with assistance if needed, and then further. And as you get further apart, the key really is to have your quads flexed at all times, your feet pushed into the ground, toes slightly pointed in, so you're really owning these positions. You feel secure in these positions, because sometimes you can feel here, especially on the inside of your knee, you can feel it burning and it feels like, oh, your knee is about to pop. Really contracting these quads, having the knee strong into the ground will give you the security to push further. And if you want a little bit more of a chilled version, get up to a wall, turn around, spread your legs apart, but keep your quads flexed, your toes pointed in, and then here you just relax. Having gravity work for you, you can really enjoy this position. Couch stretch, shoulders to wall. The lowest entrance point is to get into this position using assistance to help with stability, and then you start here. Maybe you have to even start here because you're so tight, and then over time you can push up here with the assistance, or you can do it without assistance from the floor, going up to your knee, and then slowly working your way down. And for me, having had multiple quad strains in both of my quads, what was really the key for this exercise to lengthen the quad muscle, to strengthen it, was to think about pushing the shin into the wall, really feeling the quad contract, pushing the foot into the wall. And it should really be kind of a hard stretch. You want to own that position still and be able to breathe normally. Flat ground, ATG split squat. And if it looks somewhat like this right now, Don't worry, you just found out you got some work to do. The lowest entrance point for you would not be to go lower down, but to go higher up with your front foot elevation to be able to get full calf coverage at the bottom, keeping your back leg straight. And over time, you can then work your way down, always with the right form requirements, until you're finally on flat ground. And trust me, getting to flat ground with the ATG split squat will do wonders, actual wonders for your mobility. Not only for your hip as it's stretching out the hip flexor here, under load in that lengthened position, and also working your groin area here. It also works your ankle mobility, your ability to push your knee over your toe. And that's really, really important for athletes, as in these positions, we're growing our connective tissues within our knee. And legendary strength coach Charles Poliquin once said, the athletes whose knee can go farthest over his toes is the most protected within the knee. Jefferson Curl, wrist below toes. The lowest entrance point to get here with weight is to just reach for your toes, keeping your quads flexed, your knees locked out. This is actually a well-known kind of hamstring test, hamstring flexibility test, but it rarely gets pushed enough, because if you think about how you can load this position with much more range of motion like this, you can really imagine how much more you're going to develop those hamstrings and how much stronger and longer and more bulletproof they're going to get, right? And I prefer having this kind of flexibility where I can do things like this. Even though it seems kind of extreme, but if you look at the likes of Zlatan Ibrahimovic or other great players, they have this mobility. And of course, you don't want to rush into this and in the worst case, even get an injury while you were trying to prevent future injuries. That's why working towards 25% of your body weight over time is a safe goal to work towards. It's going to make sure you're not overdoing things like bending the spine here. A lot of people also think that this is bad for you, but actually we were born to be able to bend our spine. So why not train this movement? It just doesn't make sense to me to try to always keep your back straight while you're going through everyday movements. And even in your sport, you're simply not going to be able to keep your back straight the whole time. So training that flexion of the spine is something that benefits you as well if you do it over time, progressing as you level up your strength. So the Jefferson Curl is basically a deadlift, just with more stretch on your hamstrings and flexing of the spine. Now we've already worked the front and back side of your hip, as well as the inner part, the groin, the adductors, as well as your ability to hinge and move into deep hip flexion. What's left now is the 90-90 or pigeon push-up. The pigeon push-up helps to open up that outer hip, that outer glute, your piriformis. So if you're struggling with sciatica, for example, this one could be key for you. And it's also fundamentally safe as we're sitting on the ground. So nothing can happen, literally. We just have to get into those 90-90 positions with both of our knees and then turn our torso, hold that positions with our arms. We don't want to let that go and lift, let the knee lift off the floor. The knee has to stay on the floor. Even we gotta push it into the floor. This is going to help you feel more of that outer glute activating and getting stretched actively. And then over time, you want to get further down, like that. Chest to knee is the standard. And what's going to help you reach that, because this position doesn't really put a lot of pressure on that outer glute, is to push that knee actively into the ground and think about these outer glute muscles being worked and being stretched. This is going to help. Push actively in for a few seconds and then try to go further and see how far you can go from there. Push in again and continue with that. Once you're able to go chest to knee, that's pretty good and you're fine to go. This is all the exercise, guys. Now it's your turn. Go through all of those exercises, see where you're at mobility wise, how far can you get into those exercises and progress from there. Your future self and your body will definitely thank you about it. And just a quick tip for the end, When you're stretching, when you get into those positions, try to always actively think about the muscle you're stretching. So don't just sit or stand in that position and dream away. You want to actively think about that muscle and contract it, really stretch it. That will make sure to give you faster progress. On this note, I also want to give a huge thanks to Ben Patrick, aka Knees Over Toes Guy, who inspired me to master all of these exercises and continue mastering them, continue to work on them. Without his work, I truly wouldn't be where I am today. So thanks for that. I genuinely hope this helped and inspires you to master those movements. If it did, make sure to also share it with someone that needs to improve their hip ability but really doesn't know where to start. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and remember to stay locked in, especially if you don't feel like it. Peace.